All right. Okay, so almost everyone is here. Okay, I miss a couple of students. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna wait one more minute. One more minute. I'm gonna start. Okay. So we're gonna start. So I was a little bit talking about your job market this year. So there are some, conflicting impressions about the job market. All right. So actually, job market can be, heterogeneous, not homogeneous things. Okay? So we cannot say this is absolutely good or not, okay? Because each industry has its own situations. So probably it depends on the industry. Some industries need to hire more people. Some need, industries not. So it depends on the topics we're talking about, like external environments, general, environment, something like that. So past that, we talk about that, right? Past that, it, is impacted a lot of, factors. Okay, all right. All right, so let's start. Let's continue. Let's continue chapter 3. Okay, the last time. So everyone's ready? Any video, audio issue? No? So you are ready to start? Please say yes. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much. All right. So let's finish up chapter 3 today. Okay. And then we move to the next stage, the exam on Friday. Okay. All right. So we actually talk about internal environment. Internal environment. Okay. Internal environment. Okay. So this chapter has at least 3 topics. Okay. Very simple topics. The first one is value chain analysis. Okay? And second topic is I am resource-based view. All right, resource-based view. And the last topic is performance, balanced scorecard. All right, balanced scorecard. So we want to talk about these 3 things. Done. All right, done. Okay. So 3 topics. Value chain analysis, resource-based view, and balanced scorecard. Okay, that's it. Okay. All right, we talked about schedule and something like that. We stopped and that's class activity, right? Twitter case. So your team already had discussions about these questions. Okay. So this time you are continuing this case. Okay. So I want you, all right? I want you to remind what you discussed with your team with this case. Okay. So we are gonna continue this. All right. So just 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Okay. Remind what you did, what you discussed with your team. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's talk about it. So anyone can start. What is the case about? Please tell us. What is the case? What the case is? Okay. What is the story about the Twitter? Anyone can start.
Basically, Twitter was like a very popular social media platform, and they were getting lots of users throughout their first few years. But then they just started to decline, whereas Facebook and Instagram had a much more steady increase in users. Partly because they don't have anything that's super unique to them per se than the other platforms do, I guess.
All right, great, Bryce. All right, very concise, very informative. Okay, very concise and informative. Okay. So Twitter has fluctuations. All right, very successful for the first time and decline. Okay. So why Twitter go from an exciting growing farm to a farm with a flat user base so quickly? The first question.
My group kind of discussed a little bit about how if they kept innovating more, instead of just settling with the product that they had, they might have had better success.
All right. Okay. What innovations? So, Preston, you're talking about your team was talking about innovation, right? Innovation.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes,
what
sir.
is innovations?
Well, like Instagram did like stories and Facebook did stories, but that never really caught on, and Twitter kind of came around late to adding that, I feel.
All right.
It was just those little things like that were like the new and trendy thing that Twitter didn't seem to be keeping up with.
Okay. So, basically, you're talking about the wider range of service. Okay. So I understand like that. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. All right. Good. Any other comment about the first question? Actually, the second, third questions are interrelated. So we're gonna talk about a little bit more about second and third question. So any comment, anything, any other point on the first questions? Any other discussions? Okay. So let's move to the second and third question. Okay, we are talking about these questions. Okay, at the same time, you are a strategist, right? You are a strategist. Okay, and then, what could the firm have done to avoid these situations? What options does the firm have to get back on a path to success? So, what are you gonna do if you're a strategist of Twitter? Okay, what are you gonna do? Actually, basically, the questions are something like that. So, anyone, any team can start these discussions. Please go ahead. So, what are you gonna do?
Something that our team talked about is it mentioned that some of Twitter's competitors were like regionally based. So we said that maybe Twitter could have created like a separate section of the app for like maybe like just like Asia or like just Japan or a certain country like that to try to make it more regional maybe.
All right, a new service. Okay, a new service. So create a new market, new user base. Okay, so that will be okay, the one option to avoid the decline situations. Actually, Twitter has a what is that? How can I say blessing and cursing? Because Twitter was so impacted by the politics, all right? So many politicians actually use Twitter, and then Twitter actually had some benefits from it, but actually then Twitter becomes like a politics driven SNS. I'm not I do not exactly define what the characteristics of Twitter, but it had a lot of impact from the politics. So a lot of news articles about the Twitter, but actually I don't remember many newspaper articles about the new service from the Twitter. So Twitter was another technology, not a innovation based SNS company. Something like it was something like just what's that? Politics, whatever. So, all right. So the better service, a new service, okay, it will be very, very important. It's about innovation, right? So innovation. Actually, Twitter needed more innovations. Okay, that was Tanner's point. All right, Tanner's team's point. Any other point? Any other comment?
I said Twitter could maybe buy out some of its competitors or try and innovate in some sort of way because they're kind of similar to just like a messaging platform. So just
Okay.
either buy out people or add something.
All right, good point. Great idea. So Twitter is not technology-based company, but if it's not, it doesn't have a capability to provide a new service by its own capability, then actually Twitter can use other companies. Okay? Twitter can have acquisitions, okay? Acquire new company, other companies, and internalize its service. Okay? That's good. All right. It's a very what? It's like a strategist life perspective, Erica. All right. Great. Good point. Good comments. Okay. It works it. Any other comment? So no more ideas? All right. This is a very simple case. So it is very straightforward actually. Okay. Twitter should provide a new service. Okay. A new service. Right? And for a new service, you can develop okay, a new service by for yourself, okay, by yourself. But actually, there is many options. There are many options that you can provide. You can provide a new service without developing the technology by yourself. Something like Erica comment about that, right? Acquisitions, okay, or license, or some alliances, whatever. Okay, so there are many ways, many options that provide a new service. So Twitter should think about that. Right? To what is that? The turnover, all right? Turnover, okay? There's a decline, all right? Very good, good discussions, okay? And I just want to add up in this case, okay? So Twitter will be successful or not? I need to think about that, right? Okay. So they have the current service. The current service based on their situations. As a strategist, I need to think about that. They will be successful or not. Okay. All right. Then probably I can apply resource-based view to have a better sense about this question. All right. Resource-based view. Resource-based view is basically suggests that your resource, the resource in the organization determines performance. Okay, so if the resource, a company, an organization has a great resource, and it will be successful. Okay, not a great resource, it won't be successful. Something like that. Okay, resource determining success. Resource determining performance. This is the central idea of resource-based view. Okay, very simple, very straightforward. All right, it cannot be falsified. Then the beauty of this perspective, very simple perspective, is what types of resources. So what resources are you talking about? Okay. What resources? Then any resource, but you can ask these 4 questions. All right, these 4 questions about your resource. All right, if you have valuable resource, your resource is valuable, your resource is rare, your resource is imperfectly imitatable, your resource is non-substitutable, if your answers about these 4 questions, yes, 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 then you have comparative advantage. All right? This is the central notion from the resource-based view. All right? Very, very simple. Okay? Very, very simple theory. Okay? If you have valuable, rare, imperfectly imitatable, non-substitutable resources, okay? If you have these resources, you will have competitive advantage. All right? So we are talking about internal environment, okay? Inside. So resource can be actually anything. All right? So your resource should be valuable, rare, imperfectly imitatable, and non-substitutable to have competitive advantage. All right? So we can ask this Twitter. Okay? Do they have valuable, rare, imperfectly imitatable, non-substitutable? Okay, let's talk about one by one. Valuable, probably, yeah, their technology at the first time, okay? At the first time, their technology is valuable, okay? Rare, okay, we can say rare, but imperfectly imitatable? No, actually. It is very easily imitatable, okay? And non-substitutable? No, actually, it's a substitutable. Okay? So that's why Twitter had competitive advantage, okay, for the first time, but it declines for the future. Right? So this is how to use this resource-based view. All right? 4 questions. All right? Okay, clear? So any other question, comment about the Twitter case? Please make sure type no if you don't have any question. All right, let's move. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna summarize and emphasize some topics. Okay, about chapter 3. All right, then we'll be done. All right. So the first topic, we're gonna talk about value chain analysis, okay, resource-based view, and balanced scorecard. 3 topics. Value chain analysis, we talked about that, right? Value is the amount buyers are willing to pay for what a firm provides, okay? So we talked about reduced cost, increased product differentiation. This gap is a value, all right? Okay, so value chain analysis is all about the steps, all right? Activities, steps, and the entire business process, entire business system, okay? So we talk about primary activities, the support activities, okay? The flow of raw materials, okay? So basically, we can distinguish primary and support activities. Primary is directly involved with the flow of raw materials, okay? And support activity is indirectly involved with that, okay? So these are examples of primary and support activities, okay? All right, don't confuse it. All right, then resource-based view, all right? Resource-based view, RBV, okay? So RBV is very simple. Your resource determine the performance, okay? Your resource determine the performance. But actually, resource is a very slippery concept, right? It has a widely used concepts. So we need to define resource, okay? So resource can lead to a competitive advantage, but we need to define a little bit more about the resource because the resource is a broad concept, okay? All right, then there are 2 types of resources and the textbook actually, tangible and intangible. So you already knew this. Tangible, you can touch it, you can see it, it's a tangible. Intangible, you cannot touch it, you cannot see it. Okay? So Intangible resources. Tangible resources are something like facilities and financial assets and something like this. Okay? And intangible, human resource, innovation resource, reputation resources. So these days, intangible resources are more and more getting more and more important because it's not easy to create it, okay, immediately, right? So tangible resources are much easier to create, right? But intangible resources, it takes time. Huh? So look at this: human resource, innovations, reputations. Okay, so these are very important these days. Okay. All right. So far so good. Okay, organizational capabilities. I just want to define this. Organizational capabilities are competencies or skills that a firm employs to transform input into outputs. The capacity to combine tangible and intangible resources to attain desired end. Okay. All right. So organizational capabilities is actually resource too. All right. Intangible resource. All right. So your organization, your company. Some companies are doing better than others. Why? Because it has a better organizational capabilities. It can combine their resources, okay? Tangible and intangible resources, in a better way. Better way means efficient and effective. Okay? Right. And these are RDB, resource-based view. Okay, resource-based view. Okay. So, resource-based view is all about resources. What kind of resources are important to determine competitive advantage, to create competitive advantage, right? So, four attributes. Okay, we talked about that. Valuable, rare, difficult to imitate, and difficult to substitute. All right. So you can answer these 4 questions about your organization. Okay. Think about your current job or your future job. Okay. Your company, your organization, all right, has a great potential. Then you can ask these questions. Okay? Valuable, rare, difficult to imitate, and difficult to substitute. Okay. Do they have these resources? Look at this, like this. Yeah. So you can ask for yourself, even individual level, okay? Something like your job market, all right? Job market experience. Okay? So you are the unit of job market. Okay, so you can ask for yourself too. Right? Do I have valuable resource? Do I have a rare resource? Do I have a resource that's difficult to imitate? Okay. And my resources are without substitute. If you can say, if your organization, if your individual, whatever, if you say yes, 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 4 yes, you have sustainable competitive advantage. Sustainable competitive advantage. Okay. All right. So this is how to use. This theory. Okay. IDD. All right. Then your resource valuable, yes, rare, yes, and difficult to imitate, no, and without substitute, no. Then temporary competitive advantage. This is exactly what that Twitter was. Right. That situation. Okay. So Twitter had a valuable and rare resources, but they didn't have. Okay. Actually, their resources are easy to imitate, and they can be substituted. So they had temporary competitive advantage. All right. So they had good performance in the first time, but that performance declined. All right. Yeah. All right. This is resource-based view. All right. So far so good. So anyone think too fast? Okay, all right. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you, Erica. Thank you, Preston. All right. So this time, I'm gonna talk about balanced scorecard, performance things. Okay? So we talk about resource, okay, and value chains. Then the other side is the outside is the performance. Okay? How to evaluate from performance. Okay? And in strategy management, we have a little bit different from the traditional ones. Okay? So usually, many people use traditionally financial ratio analysis, right? Financial ratio analysis. You are very, very familiar with this. Okay? Like incomes and revenues and what, the numbers, balance sheet, income statement, market valuation, something like that. Okay? So many people use this financial ratio analysis, just financial ratios. Okay? So many people actually look back the record of the company, all right? The past performance. Right? So all of this, balance sheet, income statement, market valuations, all of these are just records. The past thing is already done, all right? Then, strategies like me, hey people, look, we need to look at it is important. It is good to see some past things, records, but we also need to look at the future things too. All right, future things too, because the company will go. All right, okay? It's dynamic. It's not static. Okay, so we need a new measure about the performance, which is based on the future things, other things rather than financial ratio. Okay, not just record. Okay, so okay, some people just create this. Okay, and this balanced scorecard is actually just very simple tool. It basically asking some questions about the corporations, all right, about the organization. And there are some dimensions because a corporation has a multiple dimensions. All right. Then each dimension, it has its own list of questions. Then you can answer it. Okay? Then some questions are very important. Some questions are moderate important. Some questions are not important, but not so greatly important. Okay? Then you can weigh on these questions. Okay? Then you can sum up. All right, all of these questions, and then you have some evaluations. Okay, so it's something like a weighted average in your probability class. Probably you talked about that weighted average. Okay? So this is a balanced scorecard. So basically, it's some list of questions. Okay, depending on in terms of some dimensions of your business. These dimensions can be employees or owners. Probably this is very important. Customer satisfaction, a very important dimension in your business. Okay, internal process, okay, innovation, financial perspective. Okay, these can be the dimensions of your business. Okay, then you can use any of this. Okay? If you think the customer satisfaction is important, you can have some questions in that dimension. Right? If you think owners are not so important, then you just delete it. You just remove it. You don't need to. All right. So in each dimension, each category, you have a list of questions you can ask. Then you will just evaluate like a Likert like 7 scale system. Okay? So 1 through 7. Okay? So you can evaluate. Then you have a better sense. Oh, my company is something like that. Okay? Okay? This is balanced scorecard. We're gonna use balanced scorecard. Okay? Balanced scorecard in your simulation too. Okay. So your performance in the simulation will be evaluated by financial ratio analysis too. Okay, both financial ratio analysis and also balanced scorecard. Okay. So many people these days use this, both of this, like a complement each other. All right, financial ratio analysis and also balanced scorecard. Okay. All right. So these are examples of financial ratios, but you are very familiar with this, so I'm not gonna cover this. So balanced scorecard we talked about already. Okay, so I'm not gonna cover each dimension, each perspective. Okay, but okay, 4 key perspectives are customer, internal perspective, and innovation and financial perspective. These are very similar with the dimensions of your business in the simulation too. Okay, so you will see this, okay, in your simulations to evaluate your performance. So customer, we need this, okay, internal business like a business process, and innovation. Okay? And you can just read. Your textbook is great to explain this. So, financial perspective. Financial perspective too. Okay. So balanced scorecard is good. It's good. All right. It's a good tool to evaluate your performance. But there's no perfect tool. Okay. So balanced scorecard also has limitations. All right. It's not a quick fix. Okay? It's not a traditional, historical number-based analysis. Okay? It's a strategy thing. It's a long time, okay? It's not a quick fix. So needs proper executions, okay? So it is a little bit vague, okay? It is a little bit vague, okay? So you need to have a better way to do it, okay? All right. Then needs a commitment to learning, and this is very important. Balanced scorecard, okay, it's not just simple method to evaluate your performance. So the whole organization should be involved with this, okay? Okay? Because it is evaluating, okay, all the dimensions of your business. Okay? So all the the business units, all the people, okay, should be involved with this balanced scorecard for better result. Okay? All right. So it's about chapter 3. All right. It's about chapter 3. So any question? Any comment? So we talked about chapter 1, strategy management, chapter 2, external environment, chapter 3, internal environment. Okay, so, all right, no question. Okay, then, so next time, so Friday, so we want to meet again, right? So Friday, we want to have an exam, the first exam, okay? The first exam, so we already talked about that, but exam will be multiple choice questions, okay? About 30 questions, okay, in 40 minutes, okay? And it's an open book. It's an open book, so you can use any materials, okay? But it's not enough time to use all the materials, So the best way to prepare the test is read the textbook very, very carefully, okay, and slowly. All right. So think, okay, not just reading the book, okay. So think, what are the important concepts? Actually, we talked about several topics already, okay? And what are the mechanisms behind all these concepts? Okay? Then You'll be fine. Okay, you'll be fine. All right. Yeah, like many students who had a great score in the in the test, they told me actually they read about two times okay, the textbook. Okay. All right, it's pretty much about the test too. All right, and then in the next week we are continue presentation. Okay, so we have a good schedule. All right, exactly same schedule as on the syllabus. Okay, so this is about today. Any question before we go on? So today is a little bit, early, so it's good. It's good. Please make sure if you don't have any other question, because we have exam presentations, and so due Monday, yes, so we only have a presentation Monday. Okay. So Taylor, please make sure with your syllabus. Okay? We are exactly on the same schedule as the syllabus. All right. Any other question? Okay. All right. You did a great job today too. All right. So we had a discussion. So you had a great discussion, very concise and informative. Okay. So I will see you on Friday. Okay. I will see you on Friday. Good job. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna stop recording.